I am so happy to be able to say that after a very long wait, Doctor Who is finally back. We are starting off on a brand new journey with a new Doctor, brand new characters, a brand new team, and a brand new era. I have been very excited for this series to finally air, and as it's finally here, the question is really just, does it nail the beginning? And if you ask me, I think it pretty much does. I think this episode does most of the things that you would expect it to do, and doesn't do a couple of things that you might expect. But as far as introducing our new characters, and as far as establishing the Doctor, and as far as giving a jumping on point for new viewers, I think it does all of those things pretty well. Just so you know, I'm going to stay vague for a few minutes and then get into more spoilery, plot-specific details a little later on, and if you don't want any details, then just go watch the episode first and then come back here, because I'm going to be talking about a few things in this episode. So, this episode starts out about how I would expect it to. We get introduced to our new companions first, or friends as they're being called, and then after a bit of time, then the Doctor interrupts their lives by bursting onto the scene, and we finally get to see her. I think the main thing I want to talk about is Jodie Whittaker, because she is out as the new Doctor, and we've finally seen her in action, and I'm honestly quite happy to say this. I'm really enjoying Jodie Whittaker as Doctor a lot. I really do feel that she is the highlight of this episode, and almost completely steals the show for me. She has this really fun presence, and she's incredibly charismatic and works very well with all the other characters. I was a little bit concerned her Doctor would be a bit too silly based off of that tongue scene that we got in the first look a week or so ago, but fortunately she wasn't, and that was a tiny moment, so I wasn't really sure what to make of it, and fortunately that's not overstated in her character, the silliness. She managed to be really fun, but still managed to feel like she wasn't really joking around, and she managed to take things seriously while going about things in a really entertaining way. She just felt like the Doctor, and I'm so glad that she is. She does a lot of things that feel very Doctor-y in this episode, but it never felt like she was specifically imitating a Doctor, although it would be easy to make comparisons between things that she did and things that other Doctors did. I did think that she did a really good job of making these Doctor-y elements her own in a very fun way. I also am really glad she didn't play up the post-regeneration amnesia as coined by the 7th Doctor, and you could argue how much it was there. It kind of was, but it also kind of wasn't really. I think it was kind of integrated perfectly into the episode, and it didn't really overstep its bounds, and I'm glad that it wasn't overdone. And one of my favorite lines from her is when she says, "I hate empty pockets," and it just felt like a really great line for the Doctor, and it might have been my favorite line of the episode. And in short, she's doing a great job so far, and I can't wait to see what else she does with this part, and how she truly makes it distinctive to herself. Now that I have spent a lot of time talking about Jodie Whittaker, I should move on to the friends/companions, whatever you want to call them. I think Chris Chibnall did a good job of giving us a solid sense of who these characters are so far, because obviously we didn't have a lot of time to introduce several new characters and tell a story, but I think that he gave just enough for us to feel like they are real people, and to make us care about them. I like that they do all feel like they are real people, and we see all three of them deal with struggles in this episode that help us to understand them. And I also do like how they all kind of know each other, and that worked pretty well as far as keeping things moving at a pretty brisk pace, and as far as not making things drag down by them not knowing each other and having to get introduced to each other and understand each other better. So I did like that, although they weren't super familiar with each other. So it worked pretty well as far as that aspect. And my only minor negative is that I felt that with all these new characters, it was impossible to keep the focus on the 13th Doctor, because we're introducing several other characters, and I suppose that was unavoidable, but I just wish that she had gotten a little bit more time in this episode, because I loved what I did get from her, and it's not a big complaint. I don't know how to fix it aside from having just less characters, but it is a little noticeable watching through for me, and I know this won't ring true for everyone. In terms of the thread of this episode, it works well enough. I kind of have mixed feelings on it, but it certainly wasn't a negative of the episode. I'll get back to that in the spoiler section. And in terms of the story, it's an entertaining adventure, but it is definitely different than I am accustomed to seeing New Who paced, which isn't a bad thing, and that's partly due to it being slightly longer and having a little bit more time to spend with different elements, as well as the fact that we have a new showrunner, and the way that he does things is just a little bit different than I'm used to. And it's not bad by any means, it's just something that I'll have to get accustomed to as time goes on. I don't consider this a spoiler if you've been following the marketing and the promo images and what the creators have said, but the Doctor creates her own sonic screwdriver, and upon watching that, I realized, hang on, I don't think I've ever seen that before. I mean, I've known about it for a bit, but I don't think it's ever fully dawned on me that, hold on, the Doctor has never made her own sonic screwdriver before, at least from everything that I've seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that was pretty cool, and I liked how it happened, and then it has a bit of a story behind it, and it makes it feel more connected to the 13th Doctor, and I liked the bit with the spoons. I thought that was a nice touch. From the get-go, there are a lot of things from Series 11 that felt similar to stuff I recognized from very early years of Classic Who, not only from the simple fact of the TARDIS team, but also from what we heard about the standalone episodes. And after seeing it, there are more elements that call back to the very old format, and even as far as the note that it ends on, for multiple reasons. It by no means feels like a Classic Who episode, but there are comparisons to be drawn there. I forgot to mention, but this episode really looks fantastic. I'm enjoying watching Doctor Who look just beautiful. I mean, I'm not used to seeing it look so cinematic, and I like it a lot. I'm very impressed with that aspect of the episode. I think that this is gorgeous. If you haven't seen this episode yet and would like to know my rating on it, you can feel free to skip past the spoiler section using the time shown on screen, and yes, that is your spoiler warning. So, if you have yet to see the episode, I'm going to give you just a few moments to skip ahead, and if you're still with me, then we will move on to the spoilers. So, the villain of the episode, Tim Shaw, on the one hand, he feels rather one note, and I don't know how much of that is due to the writing or the performance, but I don't think that the writing gave the actor a chance to do much with that part. On the other hand, the villain wasn't by any means the point of the episode, and he was secondary to our characters, who are more important. Although I did quite like the look of the teeth in his face. That was rather unsettling, and I just think that works well. I also kind of like the element that this guy is a cheater. That's a nice little touch. And when the storage device first showed up, I initially thought that we were going to be introducing the Doctor right there, but I was wrong, and we got her a couple minutes later, but, you know, I was wrong. Another talking point is Grace. She's fine in the episode, like, she works well as the grandmother, but we don't see a whole lot of her or get to know her that well. And the fact is that because she was in the marketing, or rather, she wasn't in the marketing, as soon as I found out that she was so directly connected to two of our lead companions, I knew that she wasn't going to make it through the first episode, because if she's traveling with them, something has to happen to make her not be going with her family. And most easily, the solution is that she just dies, and that's what happens. I certainly didn't have an emotional reaction because I didn't really know her that well, but it proved for a pretty good funeral scene, and that was something. I didn't think it was a bad element of the story. Perhaps it was just a predictable one. It's worth mentioning that there was no TARDIS in this episode. That's a shame, but I cannot wait to see it, and I'm really excited about the interior of the TARDIS. Also, we have no intro in this one, which is okay because I don't really know where they would have stuck that thing in the story, because the Doctor shows up a little bit later, and it just would have been weird. But I can live with that. I can't wait to see it, though. I'm excited for that. Quickly back to Jodie. There's a lot of fun things that she does in this episode that feel very doctory, like the line about the sonic Swiss Army knife, and then she follows it by saying that only idiots carry knives. One of the best was when she told the man on the crane that he had no right, and that was definitely the Doctor. And I love the moment when she finally says the words, "I am the Doctor." That's wonderful. There's just so much in there that's just right, and the way that Jodie does it, it's just really good, and I'm really enjoying this Doctor, thanks to the writing and thanks to Jodie. Backing away from the spoilers, overall this episode was good. There were some elements that were really good and some elements that could have been improved upon, but I had a blast watching Jodie Whittaker, and I am really enjoying her in this part. The writing is strong so far, and I find myself left with very few complaints. Overall, I'm going to give The Woman Who Fell to Earth a solid rating of 8.25 out of 10. I am very excited for the next episode, and if you join me in just a couple of days now, then I'll be talking about the Ghost Monument. And I'm sorry this episode took like a week to get out, or this review, sorry. But that's kind of how things might be. My goal is to get them out within the week, so before the next episode comes out, but unfortunately, this time that was not possible, and I'm sorry about that. Hopefully, this next one's just going to take me a couple of days. So, yeah, that's all. Hopefully, you will join me in just a couple of days when I will be talking about the Ghost Monument, and very soon, I will have a video ranking the post-regeneration stories, including this one. So, yeah, that's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Take care, and have a lovely week.